Namaskar, Dadaji.
Yeah, namaskar. Nice to be
So,
online.
thank you. Tell us how you got involved with Ananda Marga and initiation. What year and what place?
Actually, yeah, my spiritual urge started already when I was 4 to 5 years old. Because I still remember well when I was outside, and then suddenly the external world appeared in front of me. Something what I had never experienced before, that there is something outside me, the cars and houses and people. I never felt that dualistic feeling of it. And now it came for a fraction of seconds. It was terrifying and scary, but still, it was just a very short experience. But a few years later on, it happened again. And that was not just a few seconds, a few minutes. Just seeing everything is outside me, that oneness is not there, and I was shaking my head, I was like, hey, this is not correct. And at the end, it disappeared. Each time, when it became longer and longer, until I was 20 years old, and it became permanent. And from that day onward, the world life was not anymore the same. You're going into a lifestyle was I felt it was wrong. Still missing, I knew that oneness is what I had all these years. Something was missing in the life. And it was not just having oneness. You also have an inner voice, what is guiding you. And I remember well when I was 14 years old, when I grew up with my grandmother and my uncle, and suddenly that voice told me that my grandmother is passing away. How sad I was. But I was able to negotiate with it. I'm so young yet. Later on, okay, when you are 18 years old. And of course, I was also asking about my uncle. How about my uncle? And he's 79 years old. And true, it happened when I was 18, my grandmother passed away. In 1917, I went to visit my uncle in Finland. I knew that this is the year when he's passing away. A few months later, he passed. So that inner voice was the guiding spirit, guiding who gave me. As a good example, just how it works, there was a few years ago in Turku, in the West Finland. I came from a park where I did my meditation on the way to the place where I was staying. And then suddenly something told me, turn to the left. I was a bit puzzled, why left? It's much shorter of going just straight and down there to the place where I'm staying. No, turn to the left. But I learned, follow it. I turned to the left, went forward, came to the block end, turned to the right. And there was a young, small boy who was crying. He was so desperate. One woman was just trying to comfort him, but what happened? Why you were crying? And he was lost. And the woman asked him, where do you live? I live in Tampere, but this is Turku. It's 200 kilometers from here. How are you lost? And there was no way to comfort him. And suddenly one couple came from the same direction where I came. They looked at it. Something that voice told, tell to those what happened here. And narrated. This boy is lost. He doesn't know where to go, and he's just frustrated. Oh, this is your noise. Your mother is calling there is at the end of the park. So please, follow us, we will bring you. So here, going to that place, stopping that couple, and they were helping that small boy. That's the unexpected. Throughout all my life, that inner voice was always guiding me. But that moment when I was 20 years old, there was no voice. There was just that material. There was the disco and dancing time, and you try to go into seeing that's the compensation. No. It went up for 4 years, degenerating into life that was not right. And I think there was one of the first things what I think it was, when I was 24 years old, I found one, no, it was already 1 year earlier. My friend had an asana picture on his wall. I was laughing at, come on, that's ridiculous. And he felt a little bit embarrassed because I was mocking on it. And later on, maybe next year, 1 year later on, still he has that picture. Why are you keeping that stupid picture there? He went downstairs to the kitchen, and suddenly I thought, okay, I'm now alone. Let me try. I went on the floor, I did the twist. Actually, it feels good. But I went quickly back again and sitting at if he comes up and see me doing it. But I've been ridiculous of all this year. So that was the first contact with yoga and asanas. And a year later on, it was in 78, I found one Raja Yoga book. And there was one exercise to concentrate on a candle. Maybe 1 week, a little bit more, have every day have been practicing, kept the candle there in front of me, just staring and concentrating. And I remember that movement. Suddenly, the oneness was there. It's not the same how it was in my childhood all this year. You're fully aware about the whole room, the location of the furniture and everything, what is there. I said, that it is. And from that moment, I knew yoga is the solution for my oneness. And 1 year later, in 1979, I met Ananda Marga.
So how long after that before you had a chance to meet Baba?
It was in 79. And what I really loved when I met those the Margis in that very unusual old building where I thought, am I on the right place? I love the friendliness. No question who you are, where are you coming from, what are you doing? Please come. We are starting the class here. Join in here. That welcoming, it took my heart for those 10 weeks. Yeah, so 79, I got initiated.
What city?
I had already been vegetarian for 1 year earlier. And that was just because I was working in an architect bureau. And what I didn't like when I go for the lunch, all the creativities, all the ideas just fading off when you're eating the food. And I told to my friend, why does the food is affecting my mind? Each time when I'm coming back here in the afternoon, I have to rethink and create all those thoughts, plannings and creative in mind. And he told her, did you try a vegetarian food? My instant reply was, do you think I'm a rabbit? It was just, so how is that possible? But still 2 months later on, I went to the place. I loved the atmosphere in that small canteen. I saw the food, the brightness, put the plate on the table. And what I usually always do, taking my spoon, evaluating the state of my mind, spoon after spoon, no changes. When the food was finished, same state of mind, same mood. I told to my friend, from tomorrow onward, I'm a vegetarian. I always been very mind-oriented. And then when I met Ananda Marga 1 year later, so you was already a vegetarian, already have experienced some of its practices, that there was a lovely entrance to join into it.
What town was this that you met Ananda Marga?
It was in Helsinki, in Finland. As I just narrated that earlier, it was just one of those old wooden houses where the Jagriti was. I was familiar because I'm also from the wooden houses there in Vallila in Helsinki. But this building was falling apart. But still I went there. So that was just in 79. And when I got the initiation, same year when Baba came to Stockholm, Margis were telling me that Mahavira, that was my new name. I love that new name because a great warrior, gave boosting to my inferiority complex and shyness what I had in those days. But still I felt that going to Stockholm, I just got what I always wanted, learn to meditate. So I told that, no, I got already my initiation. What more is there to get or expect? but I didn't was aware that when I met Babasan in 1981 for Dharma Samiksha.
Mm. So tell us about that meeting.
I was LFT because suddenly in 1981 I took a drastic step. I quit from my job, gave away my rental apartment, sold and gave away all my furniture, what I had. I went to Timor for 2 months. Fantastic experience, being there in that with 15, 16 other brothers. That was this is just a story by its own, so I'm not going into it. But I just was so delighted and wonderful when I came back to Helsinki. They asked him to go to Stockholm. So I became 40 years ago. I became the LFT Stockholm. Dharma Samiksha had already started in May 1981, and we are now here in August. And one of the trainees came from Ydreforce, and he was asking me, Mahavira, why are you not going for Dharma Samiksha? No. I'm planning end of the year, going to India, go for whole-time trainers, so it's no point of going now. Yeah, but why don't you go now? I don't know, that went through. Yes, I told to his brother, yes, why not now? Next day I left the Jagriti, went to Finland. And now, how do you go to India? I had never traveled before, except going to between Helsinki or Stockholm. So first thing is to get some money. I sold a few of my items. And then where do you buy a ticket? I saw one Indian shop on the street with selling all kind of groceries and different Indian items. And they asked, how do you go to India? I need to get a ticket. And the shopkeeper was just smiling to me, yes, I can arrange a flight ticket to you. And just that a week later, I was already in a plane to India via Stockholm, where I also met some other Margis who was on the same way. So we arrived same time in Calcutta. And that was a cultural shock, delighting cultural shock.
Mm.
When I was 17 years, I had that big realization. I am a human being. And if I'm a human being, how I feel, what I like, I will not like, every human being will feel like this, like I'm feeling the same as me, because I'm a human being. And now you come into Calcutta, India. Just the opposite views. What I liked, they didn't like. And what they liked, I didn't like. It was just that so-called cultural shock. But an amazing experience. 2-3 days later on, I was already in the queue, waiting for my time to enter into Baba's room with all others. That crowd, there were several queues signed. Though I was LFT, what they told me was to present myself as Bhakti Pradhan, because LFT time was already in June, and this was for the Bhakti Pradhans. And there was one brother in front of me. I spoke with him. I was delighted. Wow, how pure he is. His eyes were shining. His skin was, I thought, wow, he's so pure. I think Baba will be really happy to see him. Came into Baba's room. Now we're sitting in, first there was just more in a column. Now we're sitting in rows. And one by one, I'm stepping up front of Baba. And I was asking different questions and seeing that I coming closer and closer to front of Baba. Now that brother whom I already had felt that Baba will like him. His time he stood up front of Baba, and then Baba asked everybody to close his eyes. Something was going on. We closed our eyes, but I still was curious. There was a little bit peeping through my eyes what is happening. Baba had his stick. And the way how he used the stick on his ribs on one side, and on the other side, that looked a little bit. And I am the next one going it. And if he got such a punishment. What about me? So when that was my time to come up, I was in that state of mind. Whatever Baba said, I said, yes, Baba, yes, Baba, yes, Baba. Baba became furious. Why does little boy always say, yes, Baba? And then his movement says, oh, I keep quiet. And from that moment, especially when Baba asked me to lift up my hands, before that one, he asked me to lift up my shirt. And with that stick, what he touched on one side, what I love, because I have experienced this before, that whenever there is something cleaning from your mind, my mind goes into a yellow color. And with the moment when it touched that stick, my mind went to yellow. At the same time, something happened there. Something broader. I don't know, in that moment, I could not say exactly what it is. And those, in that moment, I didn't know how many sticks I got. That when Baba asked me to come closer and kneel in front of him, touch his knees and look directly into his eyes, he took his hand on both sides of my cheek, straight into my eye. He had told me, I want you to be an ideal boy. In that moment, I said, yes, Baba. Hopefully that yes, Baba will be proper in this moment. But just those eyes, nothing else existed in that moment. Only he and I looking on each other's eyes, and it was amazing. Still, it was a state of mind you could not really comprehend what took place. But I was then asked to go out from the room, go to a smaller room, and sit there and do your meditation. And by doing meditation there outside, suddenly, everything what Baba had said, it was like how a record player who is reviving what said. All the words, what it said, talk, everything came one by one. It was just by listening and looking on a movie what I just been played. So I got all the details what Baba had been saying. I was just, how did he do that? How he was able to now, after the meeting with him, still he was telling me exactly what I had experienced there just 5 minutes earlier. And the main thing saying when I came out from the small room and I did my meditation, came into that crowded big room, and many are still standing in the queue of going into the room, how noisy and had turbulent it was there earlier. But now when I came in there, it was so silent and beautiful. Still noise, still same crowded and pushy, but it was lovely. You saw with a complete new eyes. And I could just feel that something had been taken out from my shoulder. If anybody had carrying a heavy rucksack with stones, when you take one stone, second stone, third stone, the rucksack is becoming lighter and lighter. And that was exactly how I felt, how light. It was just like something had been cleaned away. So with fresh new mind, I went sent to week later, stayed for 1 week. I really get to know and feel how is in Calcutta and India. I start more and more to love the area. And the surprise things, when I went to the airport, I met Ritvik. He was the LFT whom I replaced there 6 months earlier when I went to Stockholm, because he wanted to go to whole-time training in India. And I was, yes, Ritvik, why are you here in the airport? You're supposed to go after Dharma Shemiksa, you're supposed to go to training center. And he felt a little bit embarrassed in that moment. You see, Mahavira, I'm not planning to go to whole-time training. And in my mind, one of my childhood thoughts, but I always felt that one day I will do something that I will be the first one in Finland. That means I will be the first Acharya if Ritwik doesn't go. I was delighted. I will be the first Acharya for Finland. I didn't say to him. Now I was just trying to feel pity after that, oh, this is really sad. Why not that? So maybe you can go later or something that, but still thinking that don't go. I will be the first one. I was selfish in that moment, but still that childhood dream of doing something that the first one from Finland is coming through. So, and here came back into Stockholm. This was in September, and then my Ares, Mahapragyananda, who was Ares Stockholm that time, told you cannot go to training center until you have a replacement. And I knew nobody will replace me. The only way was to escape. I took my things in November 1981. I went to Udefors. And then in Udefors, I was there for 2 years.
All right. And were there any other memorable moments with Baba after that?
Yes. That was Dharma Samiksha. Then I got sent a PC. And also sent the Avadhuta Diksha. It came sent in 1987. And there were few things, yes. That comes in mind was my personal, my PC with Baba. And compared to Dharma Samiksha in 81, but now in 86, the friendliness. He has reminded me that don't do it again. Even that again, he took the stick, but he didn't touch me. He just brought it very close to me, and I just somehow recalled it. And again, he spoke softly and kindly to me. So it was just a fatherly relationship what was created with him. And it became very close to me. When I left, I felt a little bit sad that when can I meet him again? And then a year later, I became Avadhuta in 87. I think I went 1 or 2 times more to India, and just after Baba's darshan in Lake Garden. And I went out, then suddenly there was an inner voice who told me again, it will take long time when we will meet again. No. I went back into that corridor. I saw Baba climbing up the steps. I looked up to him. What do you mean? It will take long time when we will meet again. He looked towards me. He smiled, and then he continued up. Somehow I felt very sad. That means I will not meet him again. But no, but he said, it's a long time when we'll meet again. That again gave me, that means we will meet when, I don't know where, but it will not be that it was the last times. That have been in my heart since the day, I think it was in 88, 89 it was. So that kept me on of, I will meet him again. When and where, I don't know, but definitely it sounds really in the right place, in the right movement.
So what are you doing now, Dadaji? What sort of work or inspiring project?
Yeah, before I became Ares Stockholm, I was in Romania and got the chance to work with the homeless youths. Those 10 years, 12 years what I worked with them became one of my best part of my Acharya life. When I was in Manila sector, it was 12 years, also half year I came to Australia, and from there I was posted to Nairobi for 15 years. But all in those sectors, though those experiences and what I learned and all the things what I'm not going now in details on was wonderful. But now coming to Romania, first 2 years working with the homeless youths, 8 boys who was there, we had to integrate them, living with them, helping still one of them to finish his high school, doing the shoppings, doing all those household work. That's responsibility. Before I could go anytime, if I'm in any sector, any region, I can go anywhere. There's no responsibility. But here, if I go, who will take care of those boys? So I stayed with them. And seeing the homeless youth situation in 2009, when our boys already had been integrated, nearly 4,000 homeless youths are on the street. And I went to the director of social department in Bucharest. Can we start one life skill training for homeless youth, same what I have been doing with our boys in the domestic, cooking, cleaning, shopping, and things. And the first thing what the general manager told, Dada, when can we start? Because it was such an emergency, acute situation with the homeless in 2009, when we had nearly 4,000 of them. So that was got that experience of responsibility, seeing their need and that trauma what people have in their mind by living on the street, other vulnerable people what they're seeing in different parts where they have been working as an Amut, like in Lebanon, in Nepal, and other places. But coming back then to Stockholm region, I mean, back to my home country in Finland. That's first I thought that, yes, I have been there a few times once in a while, but now being back, how will it be? I think my main inspiration is the big transformation of the Finnish people in Finland. 30, 40 years, inferiority, nobody speaks with one another. Where is that, can we say, everybody's on their own. And now the moment they speak, they're moving around, the happiness, outward going. It was so nice to see how the immigrants who have moved into Finland have changed that isolated mind of the Finnish people. So that's good to see the openness. And even when I came the last day, I was sitting in the bus, and one young girl was sitting next to me. And suddenly she started to speak to me. My mind is telling, no, I'm a stranger and not supposed to speak. But no, this is the new time. So that change of people, the nature, same also in Sweden, the beautiful nature and people. So I think this is what was also one of my desires after becoming LFT, to work in Finland. So looking forward to do something new, especially with the elderly people that have a good classes now every Monday. 30, 40 of them, we do asanas together, and they're my best students that I ever had. When I lift up my hands, everybody lift their hands. When we're breathing out, everybody breathe out. They're so disciplined. It's fantastic to work with them.
Wow, thank you, Dadaji, for sharing all of that with us. That was very inspiring. Namaskar.